In 2008, three complete strangers were put together with the hopes of creating the greatest Sony podcast ever heard. Today, unable to stop podcasting, the show survives as connoisseurs of dick and fart jokes. If you need Sony news, are not deaf, and don't want to die of boredom, maybe you can listen to BigRedBarel Blue.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 20/190 of the BigRedBarel.com Blue Show. I'm Rothbart, joining you from unseasonably hot Eugene, Oregon. When I look down and it's in the 90s, I'm an unhappy person because I sweat in places I don't care to sweat when I'm not exercising.
Ew.
Speaking of sweating where you don't want to sweat, Pac-Man, how's it going?
Wow, for a second there I thought you were going to go to Esme, and I'm like, oh, he's cutting her some slack.
That would be wrong. I can't believe you would go there.
I would go there.
You went there.
Guys, stop going there. It's.
I'm doing pretty good. I've been playing some Little Big Planet 2 that we got for free, and I was just before we started recording the show, actually into when we were supposed to be recording the show, I was playing Pac-Man Championship Edition, I think.
Yes.
Super Pac-Man, whatever.
DX.
DX. And it's got my name in it, so it's just amazing. Can
I tell you how weird it was to call you, and whenever you would stop talking, I would hear Pac-Man in the background?
Yeah, man, it's like Inception. It's just, you know what it's like? The Lawnmower Man. Look it up, kids.
Virtual reality.
But I promised some people on Twitter that I'd tell a crazy story on the show. So this past week, as I'm off, always do, I'm just playing on my PSP, and because I got a lot of medical issues and whatever, they made me go to counseling. So I'm like walking down this hallway, and there's like 4 doors on each side of this hallway, and one of them's the room to go for counseling. So I wasn't really looking, I was just looking at my PSP, playing my games as I always am. Opened a door, walked into the room, sat on a chair, continued playing for like a good 3-4 minutes, and no one said anything to me. And then I look up and I'm surrounded by pregnant chicks, like the whole room. And it's a Lamaze class, and they're all just sort of staring at me like I'm sort of crazy person. Like I wasn't really dressed, to impress a whole bunch of pregnant ladies, and the only thing I could think to say, when they asked me what I was doing, it was like, oh, I'm in the wrong room, but I'm a big fan of what you guys do, and then I left.
Nice.
Awesome.
You should have stepped up like you were the teacher, played it out.
There was no way they would think I was a teacher.
Alrighty, well, as you've already let the cat out of the bag, we're also joined by Esme this week. How's it going?
He just called you a cat.
Yay. Well, I don't even know how that's an insult. I have to share a very serious public service announcement before we begin the show officially.
Wah, wah, wah.
Is this an advertisement for human growth hormone?
Yeah, no. The announcement is power up, power bottom, courtesy of every f***ing billboard in my neighborhood. I live in West Hollywood, so this is a primarily gay community, and there's condom f***ing billboards everywhere. And it's disturbing because you go to my job, right above my job, there's a billboard for a condom thing, so I'm starting to believe that everyone thinks I work at a, secret dungeon gay bar that opens at night, because you can't tell what our office is from the outside.
You should start wearing nothing but leather to work.
Who says I don't?
And high heels.
Who says I don't?
And carry a whip.
That I don't do yet, but I shall now.
That would be hilarious, though. See a little person just with a gigantic whip. That'd be awesome. But basically, when it comes to condoms, you know all the top brands.
I don't know all the top brands, but I do know that apparently
you know who advertises the most.
Yeah, Durex really wants to make the meshes go home. Please wear condoms when you're having gay sex. Lots of them. 5 at a time if you have to. I'm
not up on the gay sex scene. What is the notion of the power up, power bottom?
Power up is basically put on the condom if you're a bottom. Is what it's. I don't understand how that works actually.
I can't believe that Frawlz isn't here.
I know.
And this puts him to shame. It puts him to shame. To be fair, though, everyone should be wrapping it up because you don't want your stuff to look like a jellyfish.
Ew.
That's a more compelling slogan right there. They need to put that on there.
Don't look like a what? Wait, what was it?
You don't want your stuff to look like a jellyfish.
Well, like I mean, if you're a dude, it's basically one of the, the best thing you've got going for you. Like how you could not take care of that is just criminal.
It's the best thing you've got going for you. Nice. All right, I think this is a video game show.
Penis.
I think this used to be a video game show. All right. I did have one funny anecdote I wanted to mention that's also not gaming related, but at least it was involving electronic devices. I have an Android phone.
After gay sex, I don't want to hear it.
I have an Android phone, and there's an app that has come out. There's been several apps that have tried to branch out, kind of like Siri on the iPhone. And I was using one called Robin. And it was telling me all the things that it could do. It could, navigate, find restaurants and stuff like that. But it had a feature called Tell Me a Joke. And so you say, tell me a joke, and it speaks and reads you a joke. And, most of them are really dumb. And then it said, this joke was, an elephant asked a camel, why are your breasts on your back? And the camel says to the elephant, I think that's a rather strange question coming from someone with a dick on his face. My phone said this to me. It's like every other joke was completely clean, and then this one just came out of this.
Your phone tapped into the Blue Show feed,
I know.
and it's like these jokes are appropriate for
exactly.
for
I was really caught off guard. But anyway, let's get on to this show. Pac-Man, I don't know if you remember this or not. Well, I'm sure you remember it because we've talked about it 6 times. We have begged Kojima to patch Metal Gear Solid 4 to have trophy support. Well, word came out today, as you know from Twitter, Metal Gear Solid 4 is getting a re-release with trophy support and a patch for existing versions. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
It's about time. I don't know how many people are going to go back and play this game again. Including me. I'm going to be playing it again. Not for the trophies, but just because it's a cool game and it's been brought to my attention again. And I'm sure my son will play it for the trophies, and you'll play it for the trophies. And Frawlz will not play it at all.
It's one of those games where you kind of want the trophies just to mark to everyone that I actually played one of the top 5 best games on consoles.
Do you remember? I had to look it up, but there's the animal emblems at the end of the game, and one of them is the big boss emblem, ranking, whatever it's called. And to get that, if that's involved to get the platinum, hardly anybody's going to get a platinum on this game, because that's the one where you have to play it on Big Boss Extreme Mode, finish it in 5 hours or less, no deaths, no camo use, no alerts, and you can't kill anybody. So it's a completely stealth
while
speed
standing
run.
on one foot.
Exactly. During the full moon.
But people are going to try to strive to do it. But people on Twitter were saying, is it really such a big deal? And I'm like, this game, Metal Gear Solid 4, is so good, and that series has such die-hard fans that it will sell again when they re-release it. It'll do more than enough numbers to make it worth the effort. Like Rothbart and I even said on previous shows that not that we wanted them to, but if they had charged us money to get the trophies,
probably
just to get the trophy patch, people would have paid it.
Yep.
That's how big a deal it is. It's fucking lovely day.
Sony's waiting to do that for the PS4. You pay for every trophy.
They're going to add something on top of trophies, and then they'll charge you bonus to get whatever they are, like jewels. You can get trophies, and then you get jewels for your trophies, and those cost extra. But I want to give a little public service announcement here for anybody that's not played through Metal Gear Solid 4 to make your experience better. Number 1, don't try to skip the cutscenes. Embrace them. Know that half the experience is the story, and that there's long cutscenes sprinkled throughout the game. And number 2, don't ever play the game when you've only got a little bit of time. Make sure you've got, at least an hour or so to play, because you may have saved 5 minutes before a 20-minute cutscene. And if you've only got 10 or 15 minutes to play, it's going to piss you off. So don't set yourself up for failure, and I bet you're going to end up loving the game. So, anyway, enough preaching on that. Let's see here.
Good words of wisdom, though. Words of
From
wisdom.
From an old man.
Hey, you just called yourself an old lady before we recorded, but now that we're recording, I'm an old man.
See, I'm allowed to say that because technically I am still young, and so we both know that that's a joke. Sad truth for you, though. I'm
On
so
the
sorry.
grand scheme of household fly ages, you are ancient, lady.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest person at my company, and that's all that I need to know.
All right, here we get to topic number 2, and again, Frawlz should be here for this one. Pete Smith from Sony Computer Entertainment was recently telling Eurogamer about the weirdest game pitch he's ever had. Some developer wanted to make a Kama Sutra game for the iToy, and for those of you that don't know what the Kama Sutra is, it's a book that illustrates every possible sexual position. Now...
And possible is stretching it.
Yeah, possible is stretching it. The challenge is half the fun.
As Rothbart says from experience.
But beside the fact that this is sexually oriented, the guy, he mentioned something I didn't even think of, which is hilarious since I do QA testing for a living. His concerns was, how would they even QA test a game like this? And he says, can you imagine these two big hairy testers going, no, you're the bitch tonight? I mean, how would you even test that?
It would be ridiculous.
That would be, I'd quit my job. They don't get paid enough.
But you know, once video games and interactive entertainment takes the next step, and it will in the coming years, sooner or later some situation similar to that is going to occur.
It's better with Kinect. That's what the slogan's going to be.
But it's not.
Yes.
It's just uncomfortable.
That's the next slogan that's going to be on the billboards with the condoms on it.
Hey, you know, Kinect is going to have a sequel, as all the rumors say. It's going to be, I don't know if they're going to call it Kinect 2, but I just thought it was funny if they continue that. Eventually, they're going to have a Kinect 4, and then one of the game companies can sue them because there was a board game called Kinect 4. I'll be happy.
Wow, talk about dating yourself, dude.
Hey,
Kinect 4,
hey.
Holy shit.
I just read a story this week where a computer scientist developed this artificial intelligence that could have no previous knowledge of the game Kinect 4, and he could watch 2 humans play it for 2 minutes and learn the rules and beat humans at it. That is insane.
That Skynet type. We need Sarah Connor to escape from a mental institution.
Skynet,
and burn
totally
that shit
gonna
down.
happen. That's how it all started. Skynet started because Kinect 4, learned it from 2 humans that were really bored at work playing it. I can destroy the world.
In 4 easy steps.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like the Kama Sutra.
There's a lot more than 4 steps, I think.
I'm sure
I mean, the fact that I've only gotten to step 4, that's completely unrelated. Let's see. I did not realize, we probably talked about this, but I so easily forgot it, but they're trying to make a God of War movie. And Pac-Man, I know, I kind of know your thoughts, but they've got this guy named Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan, who none of us have heard of, but we've heard of their movies. They've made 4 of the Saw movies.
If it's the last 4, then we are doomed.
So, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's hard to judge since, in my opinion, there's only one good Saw movie, and then a whole bunch of really crappy ones.
So it's going to be Kratos putting every god through a test to see if they can survive.
Well, I read this today, somebody pointed out Kratos as a character pretty much mainly just yells out people's names that he's pissed off at. He's not a real deep character to have a story about.
But I mean, just the people involved, and it just means that it's not going to be, like a blockbuster release summer movie. It's going to be this sort of, one above a Yui Bowl movie, which is that even how you say that kid's name?
Yeah,
I can't even remember.
That's close enough.
But it just speaks of like a couple dollars more than a made-for-TV movie is what it sounds like. A bunch of dudes who made a couple crappy horror movies that may or may not have made money.
Well, maybe they'll lock everybody in the theater. They'll lock everybody in the theater, and then they'll say the key to the door is inside one of you. And you have the duration of the movie to get it out. So
I would actually go to that premiere for whatever reason. I don't know.
I'd pay money to watch a whole bunch of nerds tear each other to pieces.
Well, Comic-Con's going on right now.
Did you hear the sad news about that, though? Someone waiting for, the Twilight panel.
Yeah, a 40-year-old Twilight fan got smoked by a car.
Yeah,
No.
because they don't block off that street, so they passed away yesterday.
Wow.
Which is sad. I mean, it's unfortunate she lost her life.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate she lost her life waiting for a Twilight panel, too, so...
Actually, I think that might be better, but I don't know. Is that too much?
Well, at least she died doing what she loved, I guess. Or trying to. I don't know.
Speaking of doing what you love, Pac-Man, we mentioned last week Angry Birds was coming to the home consoles. I now have confirmation that it's going to use Kinect and PlayStation Move.
Are people really itching for that? For Angry Birds on consoles?
Hey, it's the Angry Birds trilogy, which is Angry Birds Season, and Angry Birds Rio.
Angry Birds Rio.
What about the space one?
That's for the second trilogy, and George Lucas will screw it up. So, your life is complete, Pac-Man.
Yep, because I mean, that's all I've been waiting for is, Angry Birds trilogy. After I finish playing that, I'm going to hang up all my video game gear and become a Sherpa.
Maybe they'll add a first-person mode with zombies.
Yeah. Space
In 3D.
zombies.
The sad reality is if you add zombies to most games, I'll probably play it. I'm one of those people. I'm one of those.
We are recording on July 11th, which is Wednesday. July 12th, Rovio is releasing their new game. That's tomorrow. So Angry Birds will be old news, and I can't even remember the name of the new game, but it comes out tomorrow. It'll be all over all the websites. Everybody will be playing it on every device that has it. So this is officially already old news by the time you hear it. But
I feel good that I've actually never spent any money to acquire Angry Birds on any platform.
Oh, they're free on the phones.
It didn't used to be.
Yeah, you can buy ad-free versions, but they're like 99 cents. To be honest, the game's fun, but it's not... I mean, I would play it for free versus spending the 99 cents. Moving on. You remember that game, Max Payne 3?
Yeah, that game with the sick single-player and decent multiplayer that no one played.
Well, I didn't play the multiplayer that much. I love the single-player. It was so awesome. Rockstar Vancouver did that they're shutting down the studio.
What?
But it's not what you think. Rockstar Toronto just got a newer, bigger studio, and so they're all moving in together. But
okay.
They're
big brother.
They're just friends, though, with benefits.
You know what, though? Talk about... Not that I don't love Toronto, but I have a feeling a bunch of developers would rather work in Vancouver than work in TO.
Well, I think so too, but not to mention if they didn't necessarily have a big preference, one or the other, those aren't remotely close.
No, they're two opposite sides of the country.
That's a giant-ass move. So, I mean, a lot of people are probably opting not to make the move. I mean, if my company up and just said, we're moving to the East Coast.
Well, I mean, you move from, one of the top 10 most beautiful cities in the world, it's super clean, to Toronto, which is, basically Canada's version of New York City. I mean, it's a huge, supersized city with tons of stuff in it, and it's great for a lot of reasons, but it's also, relatively dirty, and it's got, smog alerts during the heat and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
ew.
But at least it's not you all lose your jobs, hit the bricks.
That's true. I mean, they're making an effort to keep those people, and that studio was, they're successful. Their game highly reviewed.
Yeah, I mean, the Max Payne game was fantastic. It's just, I just think, I wish more people would play multiplayer.
Maybe they just don't like you, and that's why they're not playing multiplayer.
Yeah, they're all playing.
Everyone likes me.
They just leave when you get there.
The sad truth is everyone does. Pac-Man is always being hit up. Like, when I
That makes her
used
sad.
to log into your, your PSN account, I would actually get hit up by people like, Pac-Man, I want to play with you. And I would send them an insult, and they'd think it's from you, and then they would delete you from their friends list. But, they still liked you at some point, so.
And I can't keep people off my friends list. Every time I open up a space, it's like, ding, ding, ding.
He calls his penis his friends list.
I should. There's also little clever ways you can mess with that.
Hey, baby, you want to be on my friends list? That works. I should have done that myself.
Oh my god, that does.
There's a waiting list to get on my friends list.
Oh, my friends list is full. That's kind of awkward. You know what else is?
Especially if I'm on my PS3 and Pac-Man comes online now, I'm going to want to delete him from my friends list because I don't want to be on his friends list.
I want nothing to do with your friends list. Let's see, the Max Payne 3 cheater pool. I didn't know they had a name for it. It is now officially live. So if you cheat and somebody complains and you get busted, you will be damned forevermore to play multiplayer only with other cheaters, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, well, that's a really smart thing to do, though.
I think so, too.
It would be so much cooler if there was actually any sort of, amount of people who would actually be in there. But since there's so few people playing...
There's 5 people.
It's going to be like 4 dudes who really up bad and end up in there.
And they probably end up having fun cheating together.
Well, serves them right. Are you one of those 4 dudes? How did you know that exact number?
Shh. Don't say anything.
Guys, are you still there?
PSN Play has returned for, I think this is the second year, although it may be the third year. Second year. Which is where they pick a handful of games and they try to entice you to pre-order them. And if you do, depending on how many you pre-order, you get a bigger savings. But this is the second year in a row they've thrown a turd in the mix. So
yeah, but 3 of the games are really awesome, and then there's
the first game is the turd in the mix. The Expendables 2 is going to be the first game out. Then Sound Shapes, which is it includes
awesome.
The Vita and the PS3 version, and then Papo and Yo,
which is also awesome.
Counter-Strike Go,
which is going to be awesome, or is totally awesome.
If you buy 2 of these games, you save $3, and if you buy 3, which I have a typo on my agenda, you save 6. If you buy all 4, you save 10. And this deal goes from July 24th, so we've got a couple weeks, until August 27th, so about a month. And
they probably threw the Expendables in there because they knew it's going to be god-awful, so they're like, look, we got to find a way to make money off this crap.
But the other 3, I definitely want Papo and Yo and Counter-Strike Go and Sound Shapes.
It's awesome when I demoed it before. I like the fact that it made me feel like I'd actually make music, even though if I even tried on my own, it would sound like cats crying.
I hope to have a demo for that because I'm just not feeling it from watching the videos. I don't know. It might just be me.
You need to feel the rhythm in your bones.
I do.
In your old bones.
Thank you for not missing a beat.
Old.
Little Big Planet karting beta has started. I got a voucher sent to me in my inbox, and I forgot to redeem it yesterday, so I have to do that tonight and then not talk about it.
And I want a Little Big Planet karting beta invite.
It actually, I am optimistically excited about it. So I'll just leave it at that because I got nothing more to say.
I am optimistically excited about the possibility of getting an invite, so I can also be optimistically excited.
Well, did you optimistically, excitedly go to the beta invite application site?
I certainly did. I believe you even sent me the link to such page.
I believe I did.
Can I be the pessimist here and say that I'm actually kind of sad that Little Big Planet has become this, I understand that it's, one of the faces of the PS3 and the PlayStation, whatever, but I feel like it's being overly used.
Well, what you got to look at, though, is do you want to see Mod Nation Racers 2 or do you want to see Little Big Planet shoved into karting? Because karting is a valid genre.
Or maybe I want neither, and we should try something else.
Okay. We could do that. Kama Sutra karting.
Kama Sutra with the Vita? How would that work?
It's got a front-facing camera and a rear-facing camera. You just aim it at your lap and go.
And you literally aim it at your rear and then see where it goes.
Yep.
I just don't want them to saturate Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet, the first one was one of my games of the year when it released, and Little Big Planet 2 was a tiny bit of a disappointment. I had fun with it, but it wasn't as great, and now we have karting and all these other versions on. Media
Molecule's working on another AAA game that's not Little Big Planet that they've thrown a ton of research and development money into, and LBP karting was done by the guys that did Mod Nation Racer. Is it United Front? I can't remember the name of the studio.
Yeah, I think it was United Front. But Mod Nation Racers just didn't have the time or the budget to really... It tried to be its own thing and tried to be Little Big Planet, and it didn't really work. So Little Big Planet just taking over what Mod Nation Racers did.
Well, I think the mods were what I didn't like. I liked the cars, and I liked...
Well, the mods in Mod Nation Racer were limited.
The level creation in Mod Nation Racer, I think, was almost unparalleled. It was so easy to create really cool tracks. But I don't know. I think they're better off doing what they're doing than having a true Mod Nation Racers 2, at least anytime soon. But
I have an ill history with Mod Nation Racers because when I was on the Pink Show, like the second episode, as an official host, I made the mistake of saying, "Oh, the people that made Little Big Planet made Mod Nation Racers," and then someone totally called me a "See you next Tuesday" because I made that horrible mistake. It's like, really, you're passionate about this game. I'm so sorry for making this mistake.
well, now you can say, after this game comes out, the people that made Mod Nation Racers made Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet karting. Yeah.
And then you can in an envelope and mail it to them and be like, taste it.
Express.
Whoa. That's deep. I'm going to do it.
So, Comic-Con's going on in San Diego, and Sony had some panels, and they spilled some big-time beans on the most awkwardly named game of the season, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Is that what that stood for? I thought that was just a weird,
it's Pasasper.
organization.
Pasasperilla. Let's see. It says...
It's a furry community I didn't know about.
PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale will have a final boss, and they said PlayStation fans will get it. Now, I said this before, and I want to reiterate it. My guess is Kevin Butler is going to be the game boss. And I think this aligns right with that. People that aren't PlayStation fans might not get it, but PlayStation fans would get it if they had Kevin Butler as the final boss.
His catchphrases are his attacks. You have to avoid the words that come at you. I don't understand how that would work.
Vice president of boss battles. I mean, it's just a fighting game. They've got Nathan Drake and probably 20 other people in the game.
Yep, and most of those people are it's going to be awesome. All the characters they've said, at first we were like, who are they going to put in as PlayStation characters? But it's actually not a bad roster. And, who doesn't want Kevin Butler in the game?
I think it would be hilarious, personally.
I am also... Man, I'm a real pessimist today. I played it at E3, and I wasn't wowed by it because it did just feel like, Super Smash Brothers just with PlayStation characters. Every little thing... how the hit counter comes up and how you die in it just felt like a direct copy of it. And I was just like, it's okay. Playing as a Big Daddy's awful, but I've always been horrible with, the heavy characters like Donkey Kong, too. But
hey, don't be hating on the bigger people.
I'm sorry, Frawlz. But I don't know. I think I guess I have to play on different levels in order to see if I can like it or not.
Hey, guess what other studio shut down?
Which?
The studio that did Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, snap.
True story.
And they went to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
No. They just shut it down. I think Namco Bandai is working on the next Smash Brothers game, which I thought was really bizarre. I mean, I know that Nintendo's really hush-hush on who does their, quote, first-party games. They farm them out all the time, and they've got some regulars. But Namco Bandai's pretty high-profile, and they're handling a first-party franchise. I was surprised. But
well, that's having faith in them.
Well, I mean, for all I know, they're going to re-envision it like all these other games that they're re-envisioning.
I don't... You see, the thing is with, Namco Bandai and Capcom is... they're as likely to, crap out a diamond as they are to crap out crap. It's really...
You're right.
You simply cannot bet on anything until you actually have the game in your hand.
Yep.
Oh, enslaved.
So, they also confirmed that almost all, if not all, PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale characters will use the original voice actors for their in-game voice work. I'm not sure how much voice work each one has, but, you wouldn't want to hear... Cole from Infamous with some squeaky guy's voice. It just wouldn't work.
Or they were just going to have Nathan Drake be the voice of every character.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nolan North is like, I can do everybody.
Literally, he can do everything.
They said they have an infinite combo avoidance system to prevent exploits, which sounds all technical and oppressive, but I don't know. I don't even know if I understand what that means.
Well, it basically means you can't sort of trick the system so that you can just get an infinite combo, so that no matter what someone does, if you can get it started, they just lose every single time.
Okay. So everything has a counter no matter what, I guess. You can stop any combo. Anyway, they also said there'll be a 1 versus and a 2 versus 2 mode. And they also said the characters all have 3 different throws. They have an up, a down, and a forward, each with different tactical applications, strengths, and weaknesses. That's a mouthful.
This is going to set the new bar. This is going to be the next top game at EVO.
And let's see. The characters have a lot more maneuverability than other fighting game characters. Rolling and dodging supers is a very viable defense.
Oh my god. Street Fighter just shit itself.
Maybe you should translate that into English.
Well, maybe I just didn't know how to roll correctly with a Big Daddy.
I feel like a big daddy. I don't even know what that means.
No, I don't either.
Let's see. Pac-Man, you put this one in the agenda. Rainbow Moon, which is, I'm assuming, not a gay guy showing you his ass. A grinding strategy JRB RPG for $15. Now that seems like a bargain, and 20% off for PlayStation Plus members. Do you know anything about this game?
Well, I was looking at it today, and I'm probably going to pick it up after we finish recording the show. If you're one of the fans of like the JRPG games like Final Fantasy Tactics, or maybe not just like Tactics, but those kind of a little more.
I love all of them.
A little more tactical than. Just sort of roaming and doing quests. But, if it's $11.99 if you're a PlayStation Plus member, and all of the reviews have said that, it's difficult and time-consuming. So if you're a type of person who wants to just pick up a game and play a little bit and put it down, it's not the game for you. But if you're one of the people who likes getting into JRPGs, which is sort of a niche audience now, it's apparently really great. I mean, all the people... who I've spoken to who have actually played it are enjoying it because they are fans of the genre. So I'm looking forward to it. And $11.99 is not bad for a game that just came out. And it's apparently, really, really long. So you're not going to get jinxed for, 6 hours of gameplay.
That is definitely what she said. I'm sad because I didn't make it in time to get my free year of PlayStation Plus to the Sony conference.
You can just pay for it, lady.
But I'm cheap.
Well, have your boyfriend pay for it.
But he's cheaper.
That's why I said that. You know what else is difficult and time-consuming? According to Frawlz, dating.
According to Frawlz, everything is.
Crapping, laundry, cleaning skid marks.
Eating
skid marks.
Breathing, walking to the store. Yeah, it's a hard life for Frawlz, I know.
Awesome Knots. Pac-Man, you like that game, right?
I wish I should be playing it more, but I'm always distracted by something else. But it's great fun.
It's got an update coming that adds new content, balance changes, and new characters, and it will cost you exactly 0 cents.
Which is awesome.
I think Esme can afford that if she had the game.
See, I don't have it, but what I could afford is a thing you skipped, which is the Mass Effect 3 DLC.
I did skip that, didn't I? I didn't do it on purpose.
Yes, you did.
So you could afford the free Mass Effect 3 DLC that comes with new maps and weapons.
I thought this was the Leviathan DLC. Is that not coming out yet?
I don't remember what they're called.
Okay, nobody knows what I'm talking about. The Leviathan DLC is supposedly like actual story DLC where you you get to know the story about this Reaper that is rogue and decided to do crap on his own.
No, I'm pretty sure that hasn't come out yet. This is just straight up multiplayer. New maps, couple new guns.
I'm actually kind of tired of the multiplayer.
Yeah, I finally burnt out playing multiplayer in that, but I got at least another 30 hours or more of gameplay just playing multiplayer in that game.
I really...
Pac-Man, do you leave your house?
Not really. Not since for the last year or so. Not really. The outside world's scary. It's like there's teenagers in skinny jeans across the street, and I don't feel safe leaving the house.
It's just the fact that you put in all these hours into these games. I don't understand how that translates into you actually having a working life and a personal life.
I don't. I just go. I've been sick for a while, so I basically just go to the hospital, come home, go crazy, go back to the hospital, play video games.
Pac-Man, don't make this a sad story. Don't make this a sympathy story. Don't make this sympathy.
He relaxes by doing Lamaze exercises, which allows him to stay up later.
I am a fan.
I really wish I could see those women's faces.
What do you wish you could see, Pac-Man?
Anything but a room full of ready-to-pop ladies with beating red faces, doing weird breathing exercises. The whole thing was just completely
You were just waiting for out pops a kid.
It's like, you have to help us. She's going into labor.
I would just be throwing towels at her, and I'm like, handle it yourself.
Be like, hold on, I got to finish this level. And he runs out the door with his Vita or PSP. All right, the next topic is our one and only Vita topic, if you don't count the mention of sound shapes. Gearbox's Randy Pitchford, big Gearbox fan, is working his best to dare Sony into partnering with them by saying, one of the things I wish Sony would do is get behind Borderlands, because I'd love to see a Vita version of the game. I want to be able to have the character I'm working on with my PS3, and then when I'm on the road with my Vita, I can just keep developing that same character because it exists on the cloud somewhere. Technologically, that's possible. And then he must have been speaking at some kind of panel, because then he went on to say, perhaps some of you folks can convince Sony to start that. We're too busy to develop it ourselves, but I know a lot of talented people or talented developers who could take our code, our source, and our content and perhaps create something like that.
That's actually a pretty good idea, though.
I think that is a bar that needs to be set. I think a lot of people would completely and utterly dig Borderlands on the Vita.
A lot of people would pick up the Vita just for...
I think so.
A portable version of the Borderlands game. Like, that would be amazing.
They need to drop some money.
Especially because the Vita actually could do some cool multiplayer stuff, be connected online as well. For more than just the cloud save.
Speaking of that, you suggested another topic that I actually forgot to put on this. It was Vita related. It was the new trailer for Assassin's Creed 3 Vita, and damn.
Oh, the one with the female.
Yeah, but the footage they showed, that is looking freaking sweet. It really makes me want to know what these AAA titles, like if they were to do a Borderlands on the Vita, or what this Call of Duty that they're working on, what are these games going to look like? And seeing the videos of like the new Assassin's Creed 3 trailer, just, they impress me for being in the first year of the system.
Yeah, because the new trailer for Liberation, I think it's called, has a lot of gameplay footage in it, and it looks friggin' sharp as hell. Easily looking as good as Uncharted did when we first started to see trailers for Uncharted on Vita. But in a lot of ways, this looks better, or at least really, 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 really good.
It's starting to scare me though. The AAA industry is taking. I mean, it's taken over already, but how prevalent it is now. In the future, we're not going to have any, just mediocre or okay or good games. It's all going to be AAA. It's all Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Uncharted.
The amount of money being put into the AAA games has really risen, but there's not actually as many games getting put out of late, because it's everyone's just.
It's very hard to. I mean, a lot of these. What is it? Someone said. I forgot what game, but there is a developer that came out and said, if we don't make a 500 million sale on this certain game, that's the only way we're gonna get profit on our game, or something like that. That's ridiculous. Those are really high numbers to get.
Yeah,
even on a AAA game.
You're right. You're gonna start to see, the really, really high budget games, tons and tons of indie and semi-arcade level games, and just a few games that sort of sit in this weird ether in between in terms of budget. And most of those games will probably end up going back to the PC, which is super resurgent, as the Xbox 360 has basically given up on being hardcore into the games, and the PS3 has lots of exclusives, but there's just less money less people willing to dump a whole lot of money into big name new IPs. But there's lots of really great $10 games of late, which is kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, but how long will they be able to stay in this market the way if it stays like this, where a AAA game becomes even more and more expensive, millions of dollars, and if you don't sell more than what most of the time to break even, then the studio shuts down. I'm just saying, it scares me for the future.
I think it's a balancing act they have to manage partially too. I mean, if they put 3 years in development in, and they spend $100 million and only make $50 million back, somebody there made a bad decision, or their game wasn't good enough and they didn't have as many sales. That means the next time they're probably not going to budget $100 million, and they're going to scale down.
If you're a new studio, your first big game you basically are betting the farm.
Oh, I just remembered. It's Dead Space. They were saying for Dead Space 3, if they don't sell 500 million units, it's not going to be profitable.
I'm not buying it.
So therefore, you already lost one?
Yep.
Well, maybe 5 million units or so.
It's okay. Frawlz will buy 3 of them, all for the 360.
Let's not joke.
But
here.
I mean,
He doesn't buy games.
sometimes companies should know that they f***ed up. Like Kingdoms of Amalur, the idea that game was going to sell 3 million copies, like they were betting on it of selling 3 million copies just to recoup their initial costs, not their full cost, but just the initial investment. And to think that a brand new IP that was so heavily influenced by other games and didn't really have anything amazing really standing out about it could make 3 million in sales, and that whole time to be diverting money into turning that game that had no audience yet into a huge MMO was just, I mean, that wasn't about how expensive things are, it was about how stupid the people involved were.
And didn't they get lucky they got bought by Epic as a different studio? Like they were going to shut down but didn't?
No, they shut down. Yeah.
Well, I know Epic saved some studio though. They bought them and made it like Epic Boston or something like that.
That must have been a different studio. I think what happened with these guys
no,
is...
I mean, the studio behind Kings of Amalur bounced around and it got bought by someone. She may be right. I can't remember who. But in the end, I mean, a lot of people, didn't even get their final paychecks.
Which is ridiculous. That's a scary world. For people out there that want to be developers, realize it's a really scary world. Like the friends that I know in the industry, they jump from studio to studio a lot.
But things are changing, with digital distribution and how powerful Steam and stuff on the PC and the indie scene has become. It's going to be a little more easy to make, maybe $1 million game, but a really, really good $1 million game. And $1 million is nothing in terms of game development now. It's not a lot. So you could see a lot more of those sort of be installments or, the good version of free-to-play, which I still think is the small minority, but you'll see more of that because people won't want to go to the big publishers because they're so demanding and a lot of the times their decisions are stupid.
Here's what I don't understand, though. I mean, I work at a software company, and if you were to, say, form a development studio and we're going to give you $50 million to develop this game, I don't understand how they can run out of money before the game's, whatever it is, 2 or 3 game deal is done.
They get very ambitious. The like when you work on something forever and you always have improvements, and then you're like, eventually you improve so much on these ideas you have, you forget about the budget. That's why you need to have a really good producer to tie you down and tell you when you can't do something. And I think that's what a lot of these developer studios don't have. I think
you're right.
Is a good producer that doesn't sustain them.
It's such an abstract number.
Yeah, like if there's somebody telling you you can't do this because you have to either you do this or you cut that or you just forget about the idea altogether, I'm sure that a lot of times you won't go over budget, but I don't think these studios think about that in the time that they're making the game.
Well, the problem is when the developers themselves, it's the cross between you want a publisher to help keep you in line and keep you on budget, but you want enough freedom to make the game you want. But the problem with developers is the problem just like with every other type of artist is a lot of times the best artists are the shittiest business people. They're good at making art. They're good at doing what they do. They're not good about negotiating contracts or following deadlines or budgets.
That's what it should be like, which is why you go back to having really good producers, which are the the yes men and the no men who say, hey, that's a great idea, but we have this budget, and if you want that idea, you can't do this, or you have to be able to do it at a certain...
that's why people avoid the publishers, because one of the big things that people don't realize is a lot of games have 2 sets of QA. They have the QA guys who actually are part of the development team and do their little in-house QA. But when it comes to the QA that decides whether or not a game is ready to be shipped and when it's going to be shipped, that's publisher. So if the publishers decide that they can still make their money knowing because their QA guys signed off on it that a game isn't really up to par, but they like movie tie-in games, for example.
Exactly.
That game wasn't released crappy because the developers wanted to release it crappy. It was released crappy because the publishers themselves in their QA department said it's crappy enough but good enough to make us the money, so we're putting it out.
We need to release it today.
Those are just horrible choices.
Yeah.
And you like the Amazing Spider-Man game, if people played that before the movie came out, because it did come out a little bit before the movie, granted, you're spoiled about Spider-Man regardless, but if you played that game, you know exactly what's going to happen in this reboot, just because they decided to publish it ahead of time. And I didn't hear great things about the Amazing Spider-Man game, but...
The mediocre Spider-Man was not very popular as far as a name.
Well, I mean, is it Beanox who makes the Spider-Man games? I don't know what the their problem is, but Spider-Man games shouldn't take place indoors for more than half the game. Ever.
Oh my god, I'm remembering the scene like at the end of one of the Spider-Man games where if you fail to hit a quick time event, Spider-Man he falls just on the floor face down. And that's the end of the game.
He didn't have time to shoot a web.
They just love putting Spider-Man inside rooms and have him try to be like a cheap-ass Batman clone. In the last couple of games, they've had a lot of the stuff not flying around the city, but inside buildings, which is just crazy lame.
Everyone should Google and YouTube that video. The ending of that Spider-Man game. The woman you have to save looks like a ghoul
nice.
too. So.
But those games, a lot of those games are crappy. Not because people are like, how did the developer not know that it was crappy, and why didn't they see this? And it's so obvious. A lot of the times, the developers don't really have final say on how the game is when it goes out the door. If the publisher pulls the trigger, that's it.
Which you would think that they'd have hindsight, because the publisher's the one that's investing a lot into the game.
No, but the publishers are just looking at profit. If they know they can release even a shitty movie tie-in game, and it'll still make money in the first month that it's out, just because fans and kids and parents who don't know any better will spend enough money to make it worthwhile. They'd rather make the quick
Our
buck.
demographic is stupid parents.
Well, they'd rather make the quick buck on a $2 million game than spend 10 or 20 and really risk a lot more on something a little more substantial. That's why the movie Transformer games suck, but when High Moon is allowed to do on their own, their first Transformer game was awesome, and then they made a movie tie-in game and it sucked, and now they're back to making their own game, and that one looks awesome because they had the time and the money to do it. But anyway, publishers are good and evil at the same time.
Oh, I was just going to say that some studios exist just to make like pawn pieces for these publishers to make their business choices with it. Publishers exist to make money. They run a business. They don't exist to make the best games. So if it makes sense to release 5 crappy titles at a higher profit than one more expensive title, it's in their best interest and their shareholders' best interest to release the 5 crappy ones that make more money. Speaking of Batman and reboots, the next Rocksteady Batman game is rumored to be a prequel set in the Silver Age of comics, the 50s. With
well, it's not set, but it's supposed to be picking up on that story arc.
And I read that it's supposed to be when the Batman first meets the Joker. Not
no
the Batman,
more Joker. I love the Joker, but we need to get away from the Joker.
Well, they can't use the Joker again because Mark Hamill isn't playing the Joker in the games anymore.
But this could be a young Joker, and they could...
No, but he sounds the same. I'm sure he would sound the same either way. I'm just saying we need to... Arkham City did a great job of exploring so many of the villains. I'm sure if we, picked one of the other ones besides the Joker, granted the Joker is fucking amazing no matter what, but we need to, explore other... I'm happy, for the Dark Knight Rises, we're exploring Bane more than... I'm happy we're exploring a different villain.
2014 at the earliest, so you will forget all about knowing the Joker, and he will seem brand new.
I haven't forgotten the first Spider-Man movies that sucked, and yet we still got reboots. The Amazing Spider-Man.
The 28-year-old pedophile.
I also need to reboot the shout-out section because we are at the end of the agenda. So... here we go for the reboot. This is all new, completely redone shout-out section. I want to give a shout-out to Gerald Mouse from the BigRedBarel community, Gorehound from the Twitters, and the USA Socialist, who corrected me when I incorrectly said I was incorrect last week. I appreciate that. Persona is an RPG series, Persona Arena fighting game. So,
yes.
Anyway, Esme, you got some shout-outs?
Yeah, but okay.
Don't be a Frawlz.
Shout out to D1X1E.
No, don't be a Frawlz. It's Dixie.
What the hell is it supposed to
Dixie.
be? Dixie. Oh, I see it now. Okay. Shout out to Dixie from the BRB community. I hate you, by the way, because I just remembered. You on my Facebook posted that video where like an old man and a midget are sitting next to each other, and the old man's like, wait, no. The midget's like, stop staring at me. And then the old man's, where's the rest of ya?
It was good, yeah. I posted it right underneath your modeling picture. It was a very nice picture, but I had to maintain my rep.
Because you miss doing that. When you used to do it on that place that shall not be named forums. You used to do that to my profile all the time. Shout out to Undead Wolfie from the Twitters. And to my homeboy, the Kevin Butler, which I'm surprised he still tweets. I didn't realize he was still tweeting.
Yep.
Why am I giving him a shout out?
That's a great question. Why are you giving me a shout out?
Okay, well, he's hanging on my wall, so I guess that's why I'm giving him a shout out. He signed my poster. Nice seeing you at E3. Keep doing what you're doing, because I'm sure he didn't know what I did.
He has no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
He would have not condoned you continuing to do what you're doing. He's like, oh, you need to stop doing what you're doing.
Kevin Butler.
All right, Pac-Man, you got some shout outs?
I'd like to give a shout out to Runtendo64 from the BigRedBarel community. Oh, damn, you gave me one of the tough ones. What was that?
I don't know.
Dozzy?
DOZZE17? Dozy17?
Sure.
Maybe? From Twitters. And shout out to the Proven Gamer crew. One of the many satellites from our glorious little community that has spread its wings.
I prefer to call them Klingons.
Klingons, yeah. Romulans.
Circling Uranus.
There are 4 lights.
All right, so if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you need to go to the appropriate marketplace. If it's an Android, go to the Amazon Android marketplace. Get the BigRedBarel.com podcast app, and you can listen to some bonus footage or bonus audio that we're about to record. I'm not even going to tell you what the topic is because it's so amazing they would have to censor.
It's probably the best bonus topic we've ever had, if Esme was prepared.
What? I didn't even read it.
Esme is not prepared, which will make it even better because she's going first. So we will see you guys next week. Remember to tune in to the bonus content if you got the app. See ya.
Boner.
Catch you all on the flip side. I'm a big fan of what you do.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.